Ji-won Park wiped the grease from her hands with an old rag. The clock on the wall showed 3:45 p.m. School had ended an hour ago, and she was already deep into fixing a customer's broken motorcycle. The small repair shop smelled like oil and metal. It was a smell she had grown up with, a smell that reminded her of her father. The shop sat on the edge of town near the coastal highway where motorcycles roared past every weekend. Through the dusty window, Ji-won could see the ocean in the distance. Her father had chosen this location 20 years ago. He said riders would always need a good mechanic near the best roads, but her father was gone now. 6 months had passed since the heart attack took him away. Now it was just Ji-won and her mother trying to keep the business alive. It was hard. Money was tight. Customers were fewer than before. Some people did not trust a 17-year-old girl to fix their bikes. Ji-won did not care what they thought. Her father had taught her everything. She could take apart an engine and put it back together with her eyes closed. She knew the sound of every problem a motorcycle could have. When other kids were playing games, she was learning about carburetors and timing chains. She finished tightening the last bolt on the customer's bike and stood up. Her back hurt from bending over. Her coveralls were too big, handed down from her father. The sleeves hung past her hands. She rolled them up for the 100th time that day. Outside, her own motorcycle waited. It was a 1982 Honda CB750. The bike looked terrible. Rust covered parts of the frame. The paint was faded and peeling. Duct tape held the seat together. One mirror was cracked. The exhaust pipe was dented and dirty. People laughed when they saw it. They made jokes. They asked if it even ran. Ji-won never answered them. She just climbed on and rode away. The bike was special to her, even if nobody else understood why. Her mother came out from the office. Hyejin Park looked tired. She always looked tired these days. Running the shop alone was wearing her down. "You need to eat something," her mother said in Korean. "You have been working since you got home from school." "I will eat later, Mom. I need to pick up parts from the supplier before they close." Her mother sighed but nodded. "Be careful on that bike." Ji-won grabbed her helmet and walked outside. The helmet was old too, scratched and faded. She threw her leg over the motorcycle and pressed the start button. The engine coughed and sputtered. It made a rough, uneven sound. Black smoke puffed from the exhaust. Finally, it caught and settled into a choppy idle. She pulled out onto the street. The bike lurched and jerked. It backfired twice. An old woman on the sidewalk jumped at the sound. Ji-won kept her face blank and rode on. The parts supplier was on the other side of town. To get there, she had to ride through the nice area where the big houses were. She did not like going that way, but it was the fastest route. At a red light, she pulled to a stop. The bike shook and rattled beneath her. She kept the throttle up slightly so it would not stall. The lights seemed to take forever, then she heard them. The high-pitched scream of expensive motorcycle engines. 5 bikes pulled up beside her, forming a line. They were beautiful machines. A red Ducati, a black Kawasaki, a blue BMW. All of them looked brand new, gleaming in the afternoon sun. The riders were young, around her age. They wore matching leather jackets and expensive helmets. Ji-won recognized them. Everyone in town knew the coastal crew. They were rich kids who treated their motorcycles like toys. The rider on the Ducati revved his engine. The sound was loud and angry. He pulled off his helmet. It was Min-ho Choi. His father owned car dealerships all over the county. Min-ho had probably never worked a day in his life. He looked at Ji-won's bike and started laughing. The others joined in. One of them, a girl with long black hair, pulled out her phone and started recording a video. "What is that thing?" Min-ho shouted over the engine noise. "Did you find it in a junkyard?" The others laughed harder. Ji-won kept her eyes on the red light. She did not look at them. "I am serious," Min-ho continued. "Does that thing even run? Or did you push it here?" More laughter. The girl with the phone, Soo-jin Lee, moved closer to get a better angle. "This is going online," she said. "Everyone needs to see this disaster." Another member of the crew leaned over. "My grandmother has a scooter that is probably faster than that." Min-ho revved his engine again, showing off. "Honestly, how does it feel to ride the ugliest bike in town? Are you not embarrassed?" Ji-won's hands tightened on the handlebars. She could feel her heart beating faster. But she kept her face calm. She had learned long ago not to let people like this get to her. "That bike is older than my parents," one of the crew members said. "It belongs in a museum. Or a trash can." The light was still red. It felt like the longest red light in history. Minho pulled his bike even closer. He was right next to her now, looking down at her old Honda like it was garbage. "I am actually curious," he said with a mean smile. "Does that thing even go over 40 miles per hour? I bet my grandmother's scooter really is faster." Something in Jiwon shifted. She turned her head slowly and looked at Minho for the first time. Her face was completely calm, but her eyes were sharp. "You want to find out?" she said quietly. Minho blinked. He had not expected her to speak. For a second he looked confused. Then his smile came back, bigger than before. "What did you say?" "I asked if you want to find out," Jiwon repeated. Her voice was steady and clear. Minho looked at his friends. They were all grinning now. This was getting interesting. Soojin's phone was still recording everything. "Are you challenging me to a race?" Minho asked. He sounded delighted, like she had just given him a wonderful gift. "If you want," Jiwon said simply. Minho laughed so hard he had to grip his handlebars to stay steady. "This is perfect." "This is amazing. You on that piece of junk want to race me?" "You were the one asking questions about my bike," Jiwon said. "I am just offering to answer them." The light turned green. Cars behind them started honking. But nobody moved. "Okay," Minho said. "Okay, this is happening, tonight, 7 o'clock. The old lighthouse viewpoint. You know where that is?" "I know it. 3-mile straight run on the coastal highway. Everyone will be there to watch. When you lose, and you will lose, you have to post a video apologizing for wasting everyone's time." Jiwon tilted her head slightly. "And when you lose?" Minho laughed again. "When I lose? Fine, same deal. But I'm not going to lose to a bike that looks like it survived a war." 7 o'clock, Jiwon said. "I will be there." She released her clutch and the old Honda lurched forward. The bike coughed and backfired, leaving a small cloud of smoke behind. The coastal crew's laughter followed her down the street. Minho turned to his friends, still grinning. "Did that just happen? Did she actually challenge me?" Soojin was already typing on her phone. "I am posting this right now. Everyone is going to want to see this race. It is going to be hilarious." "Make sure you get good video tonight," Minho said. "I want everyone to see me destroy that junkyard bike. This is going to be the best content ever." They all revved their engines together and roared off in the opposite direction, already planning how to spread the word about the race. Jiwon rode slowly toward the parts supplier. Her heart was still beating fast, but not from fear. She reached down and touched a small engraving on her handlebar. Her father had carved it there years ago. It said in Korean, "Speed is temporary, skill is forever." She had not planned to race anyone today. She had not planned to reveal her secret. But Minho and his crew had pushed her. They had insulted her bike. They had insulted her father's work. Tonight they would learn that some things are not what they seem. Tonight, they would learn that the loudest engine is not always the fastest. Tonight they would learn not to judge a bike by its appearance. Jiwon allowed herself a small smile as she rode. Her father would have loved this. Jiwon rode straight home after picking up the parts. She did not stop. She did not slow down. Her mind was already working through everything she needed to check before the race. When she pulled into the shop, her mother was still in the office doing paperwork. Jiwon went straight to the back corner of the garage. There under an old tarp sat her motorcycle, but her mother did not know the full truth about this bike. Jiwon pulled off the tarp and looked at the old Honda. To anyone else, it was junk. To her, it was a masterpiece. It was her father's final gift, even though he never got to finish it. She sat down on the cold concrete floor, her back against the wall, and let her mind drift back 6 months. The funeral had been small. Her father did not have many friends in America. Most of his racing buddies were still in Korea. Jiwon and her mother had stood alone in the rain, watching the casket being lowered into the ground. A week later, Jiwon was cleaning the shop. She found the notebooks in her father's desk drawer. 3 thick notebooks filled with drawings, measurements, and notes. All in Korean, all about the Honda CB750 sitting in the corner. Her mother had wanted to sell the bike. They needed money. The shop was struggling, but Jiwon begged her to wait. She said she wanted to fix it up herself, to have something of her father's. What she did not tell her mother was what the notebooks contained. Her father had not been building a normal motorcycle. He had been building something special, something secret, something that would make people stop laughing at old bikes. The title page of the first notebook said it all. In her father's careful handwriting, Project Sleeper for Jiwon's 18th birthday. A sleeper. That was what racers called it. A machine that looked ordinary, even broken, but hid incredible power inside. Her father had been building her the ultimate surprise. Jiwon spent that first night reading every page. Her father's plan was brilliant. Take an old common bike that nobody would look at twice, strip out everything inside, replace it with modern racing technology, but keep the outside looking terrible. Make people think it was worthless. The modifications were detailed and complex. A custom-tuned 1000cc engine from a newer sport bike, modern fuel injection hidden behind old carburetors, lightweight racing suspension disguised to look original, high-performance brakes in old-looking housings, computer-controlled traction systems hidden in the frame. Her father had completed about 60% of the work. The engine was in. The suspension was upgraded. The brakes were done. But the electronics were not finished. The fuel system needed tuning. 100 small details remained. Jiwon made a decision that night. She would finish what her father started. She would build his dream, and she would ride it on her 18th birthday, just like he had planned. For 6 months, she worked in secret. After school, after fixing customer bikes, late into the night when her mother was asleep. She taught herself things her father had not yet shown her. She watched videos. She read manuals. She made mistakes and fixed them. The hardest part was the electronics. Her father had designed a custom control system that managed everything. The fuel injection, the traction control, even a hidden nitrous oxide system for emergency power. Jiwon spent weeks programming the computer, testing each sensor, making sure everything worked together. She kept the outside looking terrible on purpose. When something broke, she fixed it with duct tape. When the paint chipped, she let it rust. She wanted everyone to think the bike was barely running. That was the whole point. 3 weeks ago, she had finally finished. Late at night, she took the bike to an empty parking lot. She sat on it, hands shaking, and pressed the start button. The engine caught immediately, smooth and powerful. But she had programmed it to sound rough when she wanted. A push of a hidden button, and it coughed and sputtered like it was dying. She rode that night for 2 hours, testing everything. The bike was perfect. It was fast, faster than anything she had ever ridden. But more than that, it was exactly what her father had imagined. A wolf in sheep's clothing. A secret weapon hiding in plain sight. Now sitting in the garage, Jiwon pulled herself back to the present. She had 4 hours until the race. 4 hours to make sure everything was perfect. She changed out of her school clothes and into her work coveralls. Then she began the inspection. She checked every bolt, every wire, every sensor. She tested the fuel system. She checked the tire pressure. She examined the brake pads. Everything was perfect. But she checked it all twice anyway. Her father had taught her that. Measure twice, cut once, he always said. The door to the garage opened. Her mother came in looking worried. Jiwon, I heard people talking at the market, she said in Korean. They say you challenged Minho Choi to a race. Is this true? Jiwon looked up from the bike. Yes, Mom. Her mother's face went pale. Do you know who his father is? That family has power in this town. If you embarrass their son, they will make trouble for us. They could hurt our business. Mom, the business is already hurting. We have 3 customers this week, 3. We need something to change. Not like this, her mother said. She came closer and put her hand on Jiwon's shoulder. That boy has an expensive bike. Professional equipment. You cannot win on this old Honda. Jiwon smiled softly. Mom, do you remember what Dad was like before you married him? Her mother blinked, confused by the question. Of course. He was a motorcycle racer in Korea. Why? Do you remember his last race? The championship? Her mother nodded slowly. He beat a factory racing team. Professional riders with professional bikes. Everyone said it was impossible. Do you remember what bike he rode? Her mother's eyes widened. She looked at the Honda, really looked at it for the first time in months. No, it cannot be. Jiwon stood up and walked to the bike. She pointed to a small part on the engine. Dad's original engine plate. From his championship bike. She pointed to the frame. Original fork assembly. Modified, but original. She touched the handlebars. Same handlebars. Same grips. Her mother's hand went to her mouth. The notebooks. You found the notebooks. I finished his project, Mom. This bike is what Dad wanted to give me. It just took me 6 months longer than he planned. Tears filled her mother's eyes. He would be so proud of you. I hope so, Ji-won said quietly. I am doing this for him. Min-ho insulted this bike. He does not know it, but he insulted Dad's work. I have to show him. I have to show everyone that Dad's ideas still matter. Her mother hugged her tightly. Be careful. Please be careful. I will. I promise. After her mother left, Ji-won continued her preparation. She adjusted the fuel mapping for optimal performance. She double-checked the nitrous system. Her father had installed it as a surprise, a final boost of power for emergencies. She had never used it, not even in testing. Tonight might be the night. The sun was getting lower in the sky. Ji-won took a break and made herself eat something. She was not hungry, but she needed energy. She drank water. She stretched her muscles. At 6 o'clock, an old pickup truck pulled up outside. Mr. Kang climbed out. He was 70 years old, a Korean War veteran who had known her father for 20 years. I heard about the race, he said. I came to check on you. I am fine, Mr. Kang. The old man walked around the bike slowly. His eyes were sharp, taking in details most people would miss. Your father showed me the plans for this machine years ago. I told him he was crazy. I told him it would never work. Are you here to tell me not to race? Mr. Kang laughed. No, child. I am here to tell you I was wrong. Your father was not crazy. He was brilliant. He turned to face her. Do you know what he said to me once? He said the best teachers are those who are underestimated. They teach people not to judge by appearance. Ji-won smiled. That sounded exactly like something her father would say. Mr. Kang continued. In Korea, your father raced against teams with unlimited money. Factory teams, professional mechanics, engineers, and he beat them with a bike he built in his garage. Do you know why? Because he was a good rider? No, because he understood something they did not. Racing is not about having the most expensive parts. It is about making all the parts work together perfectly. It is about the rider knowing the machine so well that they become one thing, not two. The old man put his hand on her shoulder. You have been working on this bike for 6 months. You know every bolt, every wire, every secret it holds. That boy Min-ho? He bought his bike 2 months ago. He does not know it. He just owns it. Thank you, Mr. Kang. Your father would be proud of you tonight. Win or lose, you are honoring his memory. But between you and me, he winked. I think you are going to win. After Mr. Kang left, Ji-won changed into her riding gear. Black pants. A simple jacket. Her old helmet. She did not look like a racer. She looked like a girl who could barely afford to ride. That was perfect. She walked to the wall where her father's photo hung. It was from his championship race in Korea. He was young, maybe 25, sitting on his racing bike. He was smiling. Not a big smile, just a small, satisfied one. The smile of someone who knew a secret. Wish me luck, Dad, Ji-won whispered. She went back to the bike and pressed the start button. The engine coughed and sputtered, just like she had programmed it. Black smoke puffed out. It sounded like it might die any second. Her mother came out to see her off. Remember what I taught you about dealing with bullies? Stay calm and let my actions speak? Exactly. Her mother hugged her one more time. Now go show them what Park family knows about motorcycles. Ji-won rode slowly through town toward the lighthouse. The bike jerked and backfired. People on the sidewalks turned to look, some laughing, some shaking their heads. She ignored them all. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and pink. The coastal highway stretched ahead, empty and waiting. In the distance, she could see cars gathering at the lighthouse viewpoint. Word had spread fast. This was going to be a show. Ji-won thought about her father one more time, about his hands teaching her to hold a wrench, his voice explaining how engines worked, his patience when she made mistakes, his pride when she got things right. Tonight was not about beating Min-ho. Tonight was about proving that her father's dream was real, that his years of work meant something, that a bike built with love and skill could beat a bike bought with money. She touched the engraving on her handlebar one more time. Speed is temporary, skill is forever. The lighthouse was getting closer. It was almost 7 o'clock. Almost time. Ji-won allowed herself a small smile. Whatever happened next, her father would be watching. And she would make him proud. The old lighthouse stood on a cliff overlooking the ocean. Below it, the coastal highway stretched for 3 perfect miles, straight and smooth. It was the best racing road in the county. No curves, no traffic lights, nothing to slow you down. Just pure speed. By the time Jiwon arrived, the parking area was packed with people. She counted at least 50, maybe more. Teenagers mostly, but some adults too. Word had spread through social media like wildfire. Everyone wanted to see the race between the rich kid on the expensive bike and the poor girl on the junkyard Honda. The coastal crew had set up like they were hosting a professional event. They had portable speakers playing music. Someone had brought lights that pointed at the start line. 3 people held phones on tripods, ready to record from different angles. Minho stood in the center of it all, surrounded by his friends. His red Ducati gleamed under the lights. Someone had just washed it. It looked like it belonged in a magazine. He was laughing, talking loudly, completely confident. Jiwon rode up slowly. Her bike sputtered and coughed. It backfired twice, loud as gunshots. The crowd turned to look at her. For a moment, there was silence. Then the laughter started. "Is that thing going to make it to the start line?" Someone shouted. "Did she stop at a junkyard on the way here?" Another voice called out. "I think I can run faster than that bike." Jiwon ignored them all. She rode to the edge of the crowd and stopped. She took off her helmet and shook out her hair. Her face was calm, showing no emotion. Soojin pushed through the crowd, phone in hand. She was already live streaming. "There she is," Soojin said to her camera. Jiwon Park and her tragic motorcycle. Currently, 230 people are watching this. Everyone wants to see what happens next. Jiwon looked directly at the camera. She said nothing. Just looked. Soojin seemed uncomfortable with the silence. She moved the camera to focus on Jiwon's bike instead. "Look at this thing. I cannot believe she actually showed up. That is either really brave or really stupid." Minho walked over, still wearing that confident smile. He had changed into full racing gear. Professional leather suit. Expensive boots. Gloves that probably cost more than Jiwon's entire outfit. He looked like he was about to race in the Olympics. "I honestly did not think you would come," he said. "I thought you would realize how crazy this is and stay home." "I said I would be here," Jiwon replied quietly. "I keep my word." "Well, I respect that. I really do." Minho walked around her bike, shaking his head. "But this is just sad. I mean, look at my Ducati. Then look at your bike. This is not even fair." "You are right," Jiwon said. "It is not fair." Minho blinked, surprised. "Wait, are you saying you want to back out?" "Because I would understand. No shame in admitting you made a mistake." "I am not backing out. I am just agreeing with you. It is not fair." The crowd was growing larger. More people kept arriving. Some of them were serious bikers, older men and women who rode on weekends. They stood apart from the teenagers, watching quietly, interested in what was about to happen. One of them, a tall man with gray hair, pushed forward. Jiwon recognized him. Detective Han. He was a police officer who sometimes brought his bike to her shop for repairs. "Everyone listen up," Detective Han said loudly. The crowd went quiet. "I'm off duty, so I'm not here as a cop. But I am here to make sure nobody does anything stupid. This is going to be a clean race. Stay in your lanes. No dangerous driving. If I see anything illegal, I will arrest both of you. Understood?" Minho nodded. "Understood." Jiwon. Detective Han looked at her. "Understood. Good. The rules are simple. Start here at the lighthouse. Race to the 3-mile marker down there." He pointed down the highway. "First one to cross wins. There is barely any traffic this time of evening, but if you see a car, you slow down. Safety first. You both agree?" They both nodded. Detective Han looked at Jiwon for a long moment. Something in his eyes suggested he knew more than he was saying, but he just nodded and stepped back. Minho walked to his Ducati and started it up. The engine screamed to life, high-pitched and angry. It sounded like a race car. The crowd cheered. People pulled out phones to record. He revved the engine several times, showing off. The sound echoed off the cliff walls. It was loud, aggressive, intimidating. The bike was worth $45,000. Everyone there knew it. Jiwon walked to her Honda. She pressed the start button. The engine coughed, sputtered, caught, almost died, then finally settled into a rough idle. It sounded sick. It sounded like it might not even finish the race. More laughter from the crowd. "This is going to be so short," someone said. "I bet she does not even get past second gear." Poor girl. She has no idea what is about to happen. But not everyone was laughing. Some of the older bikers were watching carefully. One of them, A man with a long beard and tattoos on his arms moved closer to Jiwon's bike. He stared at it for a long moment. Then he smiled, just a tiny smile, and stepped back. His friend leaned over. "What are you smiling about?" "That bike," the tattooed man said quietly. "I saw one like it 20 years ago. In Korea, a racer built it himself and beat a factory team, so that girl's last name is Park, and I remember that racer's name was Park too." The friend's eyes widened. He looked at the bike again, more carefully this time. Jiwon did not hear their conversation. She was focused on her pre-race routine. She checked her mirrors. She rolled her shoulders to loosen them. She took 3 deep breaths. Then she reached down and touched the engraving on her handlebar. The 2 bikes rolled up to the start line. Someone had drawn it with white spray paint across the highway. Minho's Ducati growled and snarled. Jiwon's Honda coughed and rattled. Sujin stood between them with a flashlight. "This is it," she said to her phone camera. "The race is about to start. Over 400 people are watching now. This is incredible." The crowd pressed closer. Everyone wanted to see the start. Someone started a chant, "Race! Race! Race!" Detective Han held up his hands for quiet. "Remember the rules. Stay safe, ride smart." On Sujin's signal, Sujin raised the flashlight above her head. "Riders ready?" Minho revved his engine hard. The sound was deafening. Jiwon sat quietly on her bike. Her hands were steady on the handlebars. Her breathing was calm. She looked straight ahead down the highway, not at Minho, not at the crowd. 3, Sujin shouted. The crowd picked up the count. 2, Minho revved again, the Ducati screaming. 1, Jiwon's left hand moved slightly. She pressed a small hidden button on the inside of her left handlebar. Nobody could see it. But inside the bike, systems came alive. Fuel injection engaged. Traction control activated. The computer woke up and prepared every sensor. The crowd finished. Go. Sujin dropped the flashlight. Minho dumped his clutch and twisted the throttle wide open. The Ducati's rear tire spun on the pavement, smoking and screeching. The bike lunged forward in a cloud of tire smoke. Jiwon released her clutch smoothly. Her bike's computer managed the power perfectly, finding the exact limit of traction. The rear tire grabbed the pavement with 0 wheel spin. The bike launched forward like it was shot from a cannon. For the first second, nobody understood what they were seeing. The old broken Honda should have stalled or lurched or stuttered. Instead, it exploded forward with perfect acceleration. The rough, coughing engine sound was gone. In its place was a deep, powerful roar, the bike's true voice. The sound of 1,000 cubic centimeters of pure power. By the time Minho's rear wheel stopped spinning and found traction, Jiwon was already 2 bike lengths ahead. The crowd went silent. Just for a second. Then everyone started yelling at once, "What just happened? Did you see that? That cannot be the same bike." The tattooed biker was laughing. His friend just stood with his mouth open. "I told you," the tattooed man said. "I told you that was a special bike." On the highway, Minho's brain was trying to process what was happening. He looked at his speedometer. 50 miles per hour, 60, 70. He was accelerating hard. His Ducati was performing exactly as it should, but Jiwon was pulling away. He shifted to 3rd gear, the Ducati screaming. 80 miles per hour. 90. He was going faster than he had ever gone in his life. Jiwon was still pulling away. Her bike felt alive beneath her. Every gear change was perfect. The computer managed everything, but she still rode with pure skill. Her body position was exactly right. She knew when to shift, when to tuck down to reduce wind resistance, when to let the bike do its work. This was what her father had built. This was his dream. A bike that looked like nothing but performed like everything. At 100 miles per hour, Jiwon glanced in her mirror. Minho was falling behind. Not by much, but enough. His bike was fast, no question. But it was also heavy. And more importantly, he was fighting it. She could see him moving roughly, shifting too early, nervous at these speeds. Her father's voice came to her mind. "A good bike will take you fast, but only skill will keep you fast." She shifted to 4th gear. The engine pulled smoothly. 110 miles per hour, 120. The ocean flew past on her right. The cliff wall blurred on her left. She had never felt more alive. Back at the lighthouse, the crowd was going crazy. Sujin's live stream had jumped to over 1,000 viewers. The comments were flying past too fast to read. She is destroying him. That bike is insane. Where did she hide that engine? Detective Han was watching with a small smile. He had suspected something like this might happen. He had seen too many races in his life to judge a bike by its looks alone. On the highway, they passed the 1-mile marker. Ji-won was 3 seconds ahead. For racing, that was huge. Min-ho was starting to panic. This was not possible. His bike was faster. It had to be faster. It cost $45,000. Hers looked like it cost $45. He twisted the throttle as far as it would go. The Ducati was at its limit. 130 miles per hour. He had never gone this fast. His hands were shaking. His heart was pounding. Ji-won was still ahead, 2 miles down. 1 mile to go. The finish marker was visible now in the distance. Just a sign on the side of the road. Whoever passed it first would win. Min-ho made a decision. He had to risk everything. He shifted to 6th gear even though he was not quite at the right speed. The Ducati stuttered slightly, then found its power again. He gained a little bit of ground. Maybe half a second Ji-won saw him gaining in her mirror. She knew what had happened. He was at his bike's top speed now. He was using everything he had. This was his final push. She looked ahead at the finish marker. Half a mile away. 45 seconds at this speed. Her right hand moved to a small panel on her right handlebar. Under a protective cover was a red button. She had never pressed it. Not once in all her testing. Her father had installed it as a final emergency boost, a nitrous oxide system that would inject extra oxygen into the engine for massive extra power. It would only last for 10 seconds, but 10 seconds was all she needed. Min-ho pulled alongside her. For just a moment they were side by side. He turned his head to look at her. His face showed desperation, fear, and anger all mixed together. Ji-won turned to look back at him. Her face was calm. Peaceful even. She mouthed 2 words. He could not hear her over the wind and engines, but he could read her lips. For Dad. Then she flipped open the protective cover and pressed the red button. The bike erupted forward with such force that Ji-won's helmet nearly flew off. The nitrous system engaged, flooding the engine with extra oxygen. The power increased by almost 50% instantly. The bike screamed down the highway like a rocket. Min-ho's Ducati seemed to stand still in comparison. In 3 seconds, Ji-won was 5 bike lengths ahead. In 6 seconds, 10 lengths. By the time she crossed the finish marker, Min-ho was so far behind he could barely see her taillights. Ji-won crossed the finish line and immediately started slowing down. She released the red button. The nitrous system shut off. The massive surge of power ended. Her bike's engine returned to its normal level of performance, which was still incredible but no longer supernatural. She pulled off to the side of the road and came to a stop. Her hands were shaking now. Not from fear, but from adrenaline. She had just gone faster than she ever thought possible. The bike had performed perfectly. Her father's design had worked exactly as he planned. 8 seconds later, Min-ho crossed the finish line. He was going much slower now. As soon as he passed the marker, he started braking hard. His expensive racing brakes brought the Ducati to a quick stop. He sat there for a moment, not moving. Just sitting on his bike, staring straight ahead. His hands gripped the handlebars so tightly his knuckles were white. Ji-won turned her bike around. She reached down to the hidden control panel and switched the bike back to normal mode. Immediately, the engine started coughing and sputtering again. By the time she rode back toward the lighthouse, it sounded exactly like it had before. Rough, uneven, barely running. She passed Min-ho on the way back. He was still sitting there, not moving. His face was red. She could not tell if he was angry or embarrassed or both. The ride back to the lighthouse felt longer than the race. Ji-won's mind was spinning. She had won. She had actually won. Her father's design had beaten a bike worth $45,000. A bike with professional engineering, factory testing, everything money could buy, and she had beaten it with something built in a small shop by a man who just loved motorcycles. As she got closer to the lighthouse, she could hear the crowd. They were making so much noise it echoed off the cliff walls. When she came around the last turn and they saw her, the noise got even louder. People were jumping up and down. Some were hugging each other. The older bikers were nodding and smiling. Even Detective Han was clapping. Ji-won rode slowly into the parking area. Her bike sputtered and backfired. Black smoke puffed from the exhaust. To anyone who had not seen the race, it looked and sounded like the same piece of junk it always did. She stopped and turned off the engine. For a moment, she just sat there. Then she took off her helmet. The crowd rushed forward. Everyone was trying to talk to her at once. That was incredible. How did you do that? What kind of engine is in that thing? Where did you learn to ride like that? Sujin pushed through the crowd with her phone. Her live stream now had over 3,000 viewers. G1, can you tell us what just happened? That bike was amazing. Everyone is asking about it. Ji-won looked at the camera but did not say anything. She was not good at talking to crowds. She never had been. The tattooed biker stepped forward. Give her some space. Let her breathe. The crowd backed up a little. Ji-won nodded her thanks to him. Then Minho arrived. His Ducati sounded angry as he rode up. He did not look at anyone. He went straight to his friends and yanked off his helmet. His face was bright red now. His jaw was clenched tight. He looked like he wanted to punch something. You cheated, he said loudly. Everyone went quiet. You had to have cheated. That is not a legal bike. Ji-won turned to look at him calmly. I followed every rule. There is no way that bike is street legal. You must have swapped the engine. You probably put a race engine in there or something. Detective Han stepped between them. I watched the whole race, Minho. She stayed in her lane. She did not drive recklessly. She followed every rule I set, but her bike, Minho pointed at the Honda. Look at it. It is falling apart. There is no way it can go that fast. Apparently it can, Detective Han said simply. I want to see the engine, Minho demanded. I want proof that it is legal, the crowd murmured. Some people thought Minho was being a sore loser, but others were curious too. They wanted to know how Ji-won's bike could be so fast. Ji-won looked at her motorcycle. She did not want to reveal her father's work. This bike was private, special, but she also knew Minho would not stop unless she showed him something. The tattooed biker spoke up. I can answer this without looking at the engine. Everyone turned to him. That bike, he continued, is a sleeper. You ever heard that term? Some people nodded. Most looked confused. A sleeper is a vehicle that looks slow but is actually fast. People build them on purpose. They take an old regular-looking car or motorcycle and put high-performance parts inside. From the outside, it looks like junk, but inside it is a race machine. That is cheating, Minho said. No, it is not, the tattooed man replied. As long as all the parts are street legal, there is nothing wrong with it. People have been building sleepers for decades. He walked over to Ji-won's bike. May I? He asked her. Ji-won hesitated, then nodded. The man looked at the bike carefully. He did not touch it, just observed.
See this exhaust?
Looks old and dented, but if you look close, you can see it is actually a high-flow design. Those wheels? They look stock, but they are lightweight racing wheels painted to look old. The suspension? Hidden upgrades. This whole bike is a work of art. He turned to the crowd. Whoever built this knew exactly what they were doing. This is not just slapping parts together. This is engineering. Real engineering. Another older biker stepped forward. His name was Tae-young. He had worked with Ji-won's father years ago. I know who built this bike, Tae-young said. Ji-won's father. He was a motorcycle racing champion in Korea before he moved here. Won the national championship against factory teams. The crowd murmured with interest. He built his championship bike himself. Tae-young continued. Beat professional teams with professional bikes. Beat riders who had engineers and mechanics and unlimited budgets. He did it with skill and knowledge. He walked over and stood next to Ji-won. This girl spent the last 6 months finishing her father's work. He started building this bike before he died. She completed it. Every modification is legal. Every part meets safety standards. There is no cheating here, just excellent engineering. Minho looked like he wanted to argue more, but he could not find the words. Everyone was looking at him now, waiting to see what he would say. Detective Han cleared his throat. Minho, you made a bet. You agreed to the terms. First person to the 3-mile marker wins. Ji-won won. You need to honor your word. What bet? Someone in the crowd asked. Sujin spoke up, still recording. The loser has to post a public apology video online. The crowd started talking all at once. Some people were telling Minho to do it. Others were saying he should just leave. But most people were chanting, keep your word. Keep your word. Minho looked around at all the faces. His friends were standing back, not helping him. Even they seemed embarrassed by his behavior. Young Mi, one of the coastal crew members, stepped forward. Minho, you gave your word. In front of everyone. You have to do this, but No, Young Mi said firmly. You lost fairly. Accept it. Minho's shoulders slumped. He suddenly looked very young and very tired. All his confidence was gone. Sujin held out her phone. The stream is still live. Over 4,000 people watching now. Minho took the phone with shaking hands. He looked at the camera. His face showed how much this hurt his pride. He started, then stopped. He took a deep breath and tried again. I was wrong to judge Jiwon's motorcycle by how it looks. I was wrong to laugh at her. I challenged her to a race and she beat me. Fairly. His voice was quiet, barely above a whisper. Her bike is incredible, and she is a better rider than me. I am sorry for being disrespectful to her and her motorcycle. He looked away from the camera at Jiwon. I am sorry. The crowd was silent. Then slowly a few people started clapping. More joined in. Soon everyone was applauding, not because Minho lost, but because he had the courage to apologize. Jiwon nodded at him. She did not smile, but her face was less stern. Thank you. As the applause died down, an older man pushed through the crowd. He was wearing a suit which looked out of place among all the riding gear and casual clothes. Excuse me, he said. Are you Jiwon Park? Yes. My name is Dr. Park. No relation, he added with a small smile. I am a professor of mechanical engineering at State University. I was driving by and heard about the race. I stayed to watch. He looked at her bike with obvious admiration. That is some of the most impressive engineering I have seen outside of a professional racing team. Who designed the modifications? My father, Jiwon said quietly. Is he here? I would love to speak with him. He passed away 6 months ago. Dr. Park's face fell. I am so sorry. But the work is remarkable. Did you complete it? Jiwon nodded. The professor smiled. Then you have a natural gift for engineering. Have you thought about college? I cannot afford it. I need to help my mother run our repair shop. What if I told you that State University has a full scholarship program for talented students? Dr. Park pulled out a business card. We also have one of the best collegiate racing teams in the region. We could use someone with your skills. He handed her the card. Think about it. Call me if you are interested. Someone with your talent should not let money stop them from learning. Jiwon took the card, not sure what to say. A full scholarship? To study engineering? It seemed too good to be true. Before she could respond, a small sedan pulled into the parking area. Her mother jumped out, not even bothering to close the door properly. Jiwon. Heejin ran over and hugged her daughter tightly. I was so worried. Are you okay? Did you get hurt? I am fine, Mom. I won. Her mother pulled back, tears in her eyes. I know, Mr. Kang called me. He watched the whole thing. He said your father would be so proud. They hugged again, both crying now. The crowd gave them space, watching quietly. Jae-sung, one of Minho's crew members, walked over to Jiwon hesitantly. Hey, I know this might be weird timing, but does your shop do custom work? Jiwon wiped her eyes and looked at him. Sometimes, why? I have been wanting to upgrade my bike. Nothing crazy, just some performance improvements. But I want someone who actually knows what they are doing, not just someone who installs expensive parts and hopes for the best. I can help with that. Come by the shop next week. Really? That would be amazing. Jae-sung seemed genuinely excited. Can I get your shop's number? Soon other people were asking for her number too. Several riders wanted quotes on modifications. Others wanted their bikes repaired by someone who clearly knew motorcycles inside and out. By the time people started leaving, Jiwon had talked to at least 15 potential customers. Her mother was writing down names and phone numbers, barely able to keep up. The struggling repair shop might have just found a way to survive. As the crowd thinned out, Minho approached Jiwon one more time. His friends had already left. He was alone now. Can I ask you something? He said quietly. Sure. Why did you keep your bike looking so bad? If you have all that power, why hide it? Jiwon thought about her answer. My father taught me that the best victories come when people underestimate you, when they do not see you coming. This bike looks like junk because that is what I want people to think. Until it matters, Minho nodded slowly. That is smart. I have always done the opposite. I want everyone to see my bike, to know how expensive it is, to be impressed before I even start riding. And how did that work for you tonight? Minho laughed, but it was not a mean laugh. It was genuine. Not great. I learned something, though. Having the most expensive bike does not make you the best rider. No, it does not. They stood there for a moment in awkward silence. I have been a jerk, Minho finally said. Not just tonight. For a long time. My dad always told me that having money means you are better than other people. I believed him. But you just proved that is not true. Your father is wrong, Ji-won said simply. Yeah, I am starting to realize that. Minho looked at his Ducati. I bought this bike 2 months ago. I barely know how it works. I just ride it. You built your bike. You know every single part. That makes you a real rider. I am just a guy with money. You could learn, Ji-won said. If you want. You would teach me. After everything I said about you? Ji-won shrugged. Everyone deserves a chance to do better. My father believed that. Minho smiled, a real smile this time. Thank you. I would like that. 1 week passed since the race. Ji-won could hardly believe how much had changed in just 7 days. The shop was busy. Really busy. For the first time in months, they had more work than they could handle. 3 motorcycles sat in the garage waiting for custom modifications. 2 more were scheduled to come in next week. The phone rang constantly with people asking for quotes. The viral video had changed everything. Sujin's live stream reached over 50,000 views. Then someone posted it on other platforms. Soon it was everywhere. Mystery girl destroys rich kid on junk bike was trending. Sleeper motorcycle shocks. Everyone had 1 million views. People from 3 towns over were calling the shop. Some wanted their bikes modified. Others just wanted to meet the girl who built a legend. Ji-won stood in the garage covered in grease as usual. She was installing new suspension on a customer's Yamaha. The work made her happy. This was what she loved, taking something ordinary and making it better. Her mother came out of the office with a stack of papers. Heejin looked tired but happy, the kind of tired that comes from good work, not worry. We have 2 more appointments tomorrow, her mother said in Korean. And someone wants a full custom build. He is willing to pay $15,000. Ji-won's hands stopped moving. 15,000? For what? He wants a sleeper bike like yours. He saw the video and wants something that looks normal but goes fast. That will take months to build properly. I told him that. He said he will wait. He wants quality, not speed. Her mother smiled. Your father would be so happy to see this. Ji-won returned to her work, but inside she was glowing. The shop would survive now. Maybe even thrive. They could pay their bills. They could buy better tools. They might even hire help. The garage door opened. Ji-won looked up, expecting another customer. Instead, she saw Minho standing there looking nervous. He was not wearing his expensive riding gear. Just normal jeans and a t-shirt. He looked like a regular person, not the cocky rich kid from a week ago. Hi, he said awkwardly. Is this a bad time? I am working on a customer's bike. What do you need? You said I could learn. About motorcycles. About how they actually work. He held up his hands. I brought my own tools. Basic ones. I did not know what to get, so I just bought a starter set. Ji-won looked at him carefully. He seemed sincere. Put the tools over there. Then wash your hands. There is soap by the sink. Really? You will teach me? I said I would. I keep my word. Minho's face lit up. He put down the tool bag and practically ran to the sink. Ji-won's mother watched from the office doorway. She gave Ji-won a questioning look. Ji-won just shrugged. If Minho wanted to learn, she would teach him. But he would have to work for it. When Minho came back, Ji-won pointed to a pile of dirty parts on the workbench. Those need to be cleaned. Oil, grease, and dirt. I need them spotless, and how do I clean them? There is solvent in the red can. Brushes in the drawer. It takes time and effort. Do not rush. Minho picked up a part and got to work. He did not complain. He did not ask if there was an easier way. He just cleaned. For the next hour, Ji-won worked on the Yamaha while Minho cleaned parts. She watched him from the corner of her eye. He was focused, trying hard to do a good job. When he finished one part, he asked if it was clean enough. If it was not, he cleaned it again without arguing. Maybe he really did want to change. Around lunchtime, more visitors arrived. It was the rest of the coastal crew. Sujin, Youngmi, Jae-sung, and Hyunwoo. They looked as nervous as Minho had earlier. We are not here to cause trouble, Sujin said quickly. We wanted to apologize properly. What we did laughing at you and your bike, it was wrong. Youngmi nodded. We have been talking a lot this week. About how we treated people. About how we acted like we were better than everyone. It was not right. We want to be better, Jae-sung added. If you will give us a chance. Ji-won put down her wrench and stood up. She looked at each of them. They seemed genuine. Embarrassed, but genuine. What made you change your minds? She asked. Soo-jin spoke up. The video comments. Thousands of people talked about how we acted. They called us spoiled, bullies, mean, and they were right. We were all those things. Also, Youngmi said, Minho told us what you said to him, about everyone deserving a chance to do better. That made us think. Hyunwoo, who had been quiet until now, stepped forward. My parents saw the video. They were disappointed in me. Said they did not raise me to mock people who have less money. That hurt more than losing the race. Ji-won considered this. She could hold a grudge. She could tell them to leave. But what would that accomplish? Her father always said that forgiveness takes more strength than anger. Okay, she said simply. Okay? Soo-jin repeated. That is it? You forgive us? My father taught me that everyone makes mistakes. What matters is what you do after. Ji-won gestured around the garage. If you want to learn about motorcycles, really learn. Not just own expensive ones, then you can come here. But you work. You clean. You do the dirty jobs. No special treatment. They all nodded eagerly. Good. There are more parts that need cleaning. Ji-won pointed to another workbench. Get started. The 5 of them got to work immediately. No complaints. No questions about whether this was beneath them. They just cleaned parts. Ji-won's mother watched from the office, shaking her head in amazement. Last week, these kids were laughing at her daughter. This week, they were scrubbing grease off old motorcycle parts in her garage. The world was strange sometimes. Over the next few hours, Ji-won taught them the basics. She showed them how to identify different parts, how to spot wear and damage, how to understand what each piece does and why it matters. They listened carefully. They asked good questions. Slowly, Ji-won started to see them differently. Maybe they had been spoiled and mean, but they were trying to change. That counted for something. As the afternoon wore on, Mr. Kang stopped by. The old veteran brought food, which Ji-won's mother gratefully accepted. He looked at the 5 teenagers working in the garage and smiled. You are building an army, he said to Ji-won in Korean. I am just teaching them about motorcycles. No, you are teaching them about respect, about hard work, about seeing value in things that do not look valuable. He patted her shoulder, just like your father taught you. After Mr. Kang left, Ji-won gathered everyone together. Time for a break. Wash up and eat something. They ate lunch in the garage, sitting on old stools and crates. The food was simple, just sandwiches and fruit. But everyone was hungry from working. Can I ask you something? Jae-sung said between bites. That nitrous system on your bike. How does it work? Ji-won smiled slightly. So you noticed that? Everyone noticed. You left Minho in the dust. Nitrous oxide injects extra oxygen into the engine. More oxygen means bigger combustion. Bigger combustion means more power. But it is dangerous if you do not set it up right. Too much and you can destroy your engine. Your father designed that? Soo-jin asked. Yes, he spent 6 months calculating the exact amount that was safe. He tested it over and over. That is what real engineering is. Not just bolting on expensive parts, understanding how everything works together. Minho looked up from his sandwich. I have been thinking about my Ducati. I want to understand it better. Could you teach me how to do basic maintenance? Like what? Like everything. I do not even know how to change the oil. The others laughed, but not meanly. It was more like they understood. I do not know either, Hyunwoo admitted. I just take my bike to a shop when the light comes on. Same, Youngmi said. I can ride, but I know nothing about how it actually works. Ji-won thought about this. These kids had expensive bikes, but did not know how to care for them. That seemed backward. Okay, she said. Bring your bikes here Saturday morning. All of you. We will do a basic maintenance day. I will teach you oil changes, chain maintenance, brake inspection, everything you need to know. Really? Soo-jin's face lit up. You would do that? If you are willing to learn, I am willing to teach. But show up on time. And be ready to work. They all agreed immediately. After lunch, they returned to work. Ji-won finished the Yamaha suspension while the others continued cleaning and learning. By the end of the day, they had made real progress. As the coastal crew was leaving, Detective Han stopped by. He nodded approvingly at the scene. "Heard you have been teaching them. That is good. Those kids needed someone to show them what really matters. I'm just teaching them about motorcycles." "You are teaching them about life," the detective said. "Same thing your father did for everyone who came to this shop." After everyone left, Ji-won sat down with her mother to discuss Dr. Park's scholarship offer. "You should do it," her mother said firmly. "Study engineering. Your father would want that. But the shop needs me. We are finally getting busy again, which is why we can afford to hire help now." Her mother pulled out a piece of paper. "Taeyang called today. He wants to work here full-time. He is a certified mechanic and he worked with your father for years. He knows the business." "Taeyang, really?" "He said watching you race reminded him why he loved motorcycles. He wants to come out of retirement and work again." Ji-won felt a weight lift from her shoulders. "If Taeyang is here, the shop will be fine. Better than fine. We will be excellent." Her mother hugged her. "Go to college. Learn everything you can. Then come back and make this shop even better." That night, Ji-won called Dr. Park. She accepted the scholarship offer. She would start in the fall, studying mechanical engineering. She would also join the racing team. Her father had built a bike to make her fast. Now she would learn to build even better ones. 2 days later, something unexpected happened. A reporter from the local newspaper came to interview Ji-won. The reporter had seen the video and wanted to do a story about the girl who built the sleeper bike. The interview was awkward. Ji-won was not comfortable talking about herself, but she talked about her father, about his racing career in Korea, about his philosophy of building smart instead of building expensive, about how he believed in making the overlooked things special. The article came out 3 days later. The headline read, "Local Teen Honors Father's Legacy with Custom Motorcycle Build." The story was front page. It included photos of Ji-won and her bike. It talked about the shop and how they specialized in making ordinary bikes extraordinary. The phone started ringing even more. Saturday morning arrived. The coastal crew showed up exactly on time, all 5 of them with their motorcycles. They wore old clothes and were ready to work. Ji-won spent the entire day teaching them. Oil changes, air filter replacement, chain cleaning and adjustment, brake inspection, tire pressure. All the basic skills every rider should know. They were good students. They paid attention. They asked questions. They did not complain when their hands got dirty, or when something was harder than expected. By the end of the day, each of them had completed a full maintenance service on their own bike. They were proud of themselves, and they should be. "I actually understand my bike now," Minho said, looking at his Ducati with new appreciation. "I know what all these parts do. I know what sounds are normal and what sounds mean trouble." "That is what ownership really means," Ji-won said. "Not just having something. Understanding it. Caring for it." As they were packing up, young Mi approached Ji-won privately. "Thank you for giving us a chance. A lot of people would have stayed angry at us. My father taught me that holding on to anger is like drinking poison and hoping the other person gets sick. It only hurts you. Your father sounds like he was a wise man." "He was. I miss him every day." Young Mi hesitated, then spoke again. "My mom left when I was little. My dad works all the time. I bought an expensive bike because I thought it would make me feel better. But it did not. Nothing did," Ji-won understood. "Things do not fill the empty spaces. Only people and purpose do." "Is that why you work so hard on motorcycles? To feel close to your father?" "Yes, every bike I fix, every engine I tune, I feel like he is here with me. Teaching me. Guiding me," Young Mi nodded. "I think I need to find my purpose. Working here this week, learning from you, it felt good. It felt like I was doing something real. You can come back anytime. There is always work to do." "Really?" "Really." 1 month after the race, the shop had a new sign. "Park and Daughter Performance, where legends are built." Under it, smaller letters said, "Established 1995, rebuilt 2025. Taeyang had started working full-time. He and Ji-won made a good team. He handled the regular repairs while she focused on custom builds and performance upgrades. The coastal crew, as they still called themselves, visited regularly. They had stopped being a group of show-offs. Now they were serious riders who actually understood their machines. Minho had even traded his Ducati for a more modest bike. "I want to build my own sleeper," he told Ji-won. Something that looks normal but is special. Like yours. That will take time and work. I know, but I want to do it right. Will you help me? Yes, but you do most of the work yourself. I would not want it any other way. Ji-won's life had changed completely. She had gone from the quiet girl who everyone ignored to someone people respected, not because she beat Minho in a race, but because she showed everyone what real skill looked like, what real dedication could build. The motorcycle she rode every day still looked terrible. Rusty, dented, patched with duct tape. People still made jokes sometimes. But now those who knew really knew. They looked at that bike with respect, because they understood what Ji-won's father had taught her. The most impressive things are often the ones you do not see coming. The greatest strength is being underestimated, and true value has nothing to do with appearance. Ji-won sat in the garage late one evening after everyone had gone home. She was doing paperwork, something she hated but needed to do. The shop was quiet except for the sound of the ocean in the distance. She looked at her father's photo on the wall. He was smiling, sitting on his championship bike, looking proud. "We did it, Dad," she said quietly. "The shop is doing well. I am going to college. And I showed everyone what you built." The photo did not answer, of course. But Ji-won felt her father's presence anyway. In every tool on the workbench. In every part on the shelves. In the smell of oil and metal that filled the garage. He was gone, but his legacy lived on. In the bikes they built. In the skills she had learned. In the lessons he had taught her about life, work, and never judging anything by its appearance. Ji-won closed the account books and stood up. Tomorrow would be busy again. More customers. More builds. More teaching. But tonight she was content. She walked over to her motorcycle and ran her hand along the rough, rusty tank. To everyone else it was still just a piece of junk, but to her it was perfect. Just the way her father had planned it. 3 months had passed since the race that changed everything. Summer was ending, and fall was arriving with cooler air and shorter days. Ji-won stood in the garage early on a Saturday morning, preparing for something special. Today was the memorial ride for her father. She had planned it for weeks, wanting to honor him properly. She sent invitations to everyone who knew him, old customers, fellow mechanics, riders he had helped over the years, and her new friends. By 9 in the morning, the parking lot outside the shop was filling with motorcycles. Ji-won watched through the window as riders arrived one by one. Old bikes, new bikes, sport bikes, cruisers, every kind of motorcycle imaginable. Mr. Kang arrived first, riding his restored 1970 Honda. Behind him came 6 other veterans, all on classic motorcycles that Ji-won's father had worked on over the years. They parked in a neat row. 7 old men who remembered when the shop first opened. Tae-yang pulled up on his Kawasaki, followed by several mechanics from other shops. They came to pay respects to a man they had admired. Her father might have been their competitor, but he had always been fair and helpful. Detective Han arrived in uniform, riding his police motorcycle. He had the day off but wore his uniform anyway. "Your father fixed this bike more times than I can count," he told Ji-won. He always did it right. The coastal crew arrived together, riding in formation. But they were different now. Minho was on his new project bike, not the Ducati. It was a 1985 Suzuki that looked plain and simple. But Ji-won knew what was hidden inside. They had been building it together for 2 months. It was not finished yet, but it ran well enough for today. Soo-jin had stopped recording everything. She did not have her phone out at all. She was just present, just a person, not a content creator. That change made Ji-won happy. Young-mi had gotten a job at the shop working part-time after school. She was learning fast and loved the work. Today she wore a shirt that said Park and Daughter Performance on the back. More and more people arrived. Ji-won recognized some of them from the race at the lighthouse. Others were strangers who had heard about the memorial ride online and wanted to participate. By 9:30, over 40 motorcycles filled the parking lot and lined the street. Ji-won's mother came out of the shop, looking at the crowd with tears in her eyes. "He would love this," she said to her daughter. "All these people, all these bikes. This is exactly what he dreamed of." At 10 o'clock, Ji-won stepped up onto a small platform they had set up. The crowd went quiet. Everyone turned to look at her. Public speaking still made her nervous. Her hands shook slightly, but she had practiced what she wanted to say. These words were important. "Thank you all for coming," she began. Her voice was soft at first, but she pushed it louder. "My father loved two things more than anything else: his family and motorcycles. Today we are combining both." She took a breath and continued. "A lot of you knew my father better than I could explain him. You knew him as a mechanic, a builder, a problem solver, someone who could fix anything on two wheels." People in the crowd nodded. Some smiled, remembering. But he was more than that. He taught me that motorcycles are not about money or showing off. They are about freedom, about skill, about the joy of making something work perfectly. Jiwon looked down at her notes, then decided to speak from her heart instead. "My father once told me that the best part of a motorcycle is not its speed or its price. It is the character of the person riding it and the memories you create. He taught me that being underestimated is a gift because it means you get to surprise people." Several people in the crowd laughed gently at that. They had all seen the viral video. "More importantly, he taught me that what you build with your hands and heart matters more than what you buy with money. He showed me that respect is earned through skill and dedication, not through appearance or wealth." She paused, feeling emotion rise in her throat. "I miss my father every single day, but he is still with me, in this shop, in the bikes we build. In every lesson he taught me about work, about life, about treating people with respect regardless of what they ride or where they come from." The crowd was completely silent now, listening to every word. "Today we ride together in his honor. All of us. Different bikes, different backgrounds, different reasons for being here. But united by our love of motorcycles and our respect for a man who gave his life to making other people's rides better." Jiwon stepped down from the platform. The crowd applauded, many wiping tears from their eyes. Taeyang approached her and handed her something wrapped in cloth. "Your father wanted you to have this when you were older. I have been keeping it safe." Jiwon unwrapped the cloth. Inside was a photograph in a protective frame. It showed her father in Korea, sitting on his championship bike after his famous victory. He was young, maybe 25, wearing racing gear and holding a trophy. His smile was huge, but that was not what made Jiwon gasp. The bike in the photo looked almost identical to her Honda. Same model, same year. The same bike that she rode every day. "That is his original championship bike," Taeyang explained. "He brought some of the parts with him when he moved to America. The engine plate you saw, the forks, the handlebars. When he started building your bike, he used those original parts. He was building you a piece of history." Jiwon's hand trembled as she held the photo. She had been riding with pieces of her father's championship bike all along. Every time she twisted the throttle, she was touching the same controls he had used to win his greatest victory. "Thank you," she whispered. The riders mounted their motorcycles. Jiwon led them out of the parking lot and onto the coastal highway. 42 motorcycles in a long procession, riding together toward the lighthouse. The sound was incredible. 42 different engines, each with its own voice, creating a symphony of mechanical power. They rode at a moderate pace, staying together, enjoying the journey. People on the sidewalk stopped to watch. Some waved, some took photos. The sight of so many motorcycles riding together was impressive and beautiful. When they reached the lighthouse, everyone parked and gathered at the edge of the cliff. The ocean stretched out before them, endless and blue. The wind carried the smell of salt and freedom. Jiwon stood at the front of the group, holding the photo of her father. She looked out at the water, remembering all the times they had come here together. He would point out different boats, tell her stories about the ocean. "Talk about freedom and dreams, Dad," she said quietly, though everyone could hear her in the silence. "We did it. The shop is strong. I'm going to college to study engineering, just like you wanted. I finished your project and it is perfect." She held up the photo so everyone could see. "This is my father, champion racer, master mechanic, best dad anyone could ask for. He taught me everything I know, and everything I am still learning." Minho stepped forward, holding something. It was a small memorial plaque that he had made. It read, "In memory of Park Sung-jin, racer, builder, teacher, a man who showed us that true value comes from skill, not appearance." "We wanted to place this here," Minho said, "at the spot where your father's lessons changed all of us, where we learned what really matters." Jiwon nodded, unable to speak. Minho and Jae-sung attached the plaque to a post near the cliff edge. It would stay there, a permanent reminder of the man who had taught them all so much. The group stood in silence for several minutes, each lost in their own thoughts. Then Mr. Kang started a Korean tradition. He poured a small amount of rice wine onto the ground, an offering to honor the deceased. To Park Sung-jin, the old veteran said, "May his spirit ride forever on the best roads in heaven." To Park Sung-jin, everyone repeated. They rode back to the shop together, the same procession in reverse. When they arrived, Ji-won's mother had set out food and drinks. The parking lot became a celebration. People sharing stories about her father, laughing at memories, honoring his life. Detective Han told a story about how Ji-won's father once fixed his police motorcycle in the middle of the night so he could get back on patrol. He would not take payment. Just said police need to stay mobile, stay safe out there. One of the older bikers talked about how Ji-won's father had helped him rebuild a classic motorcycle piece by piece, teaching him everything along the way. He did not just fix bikes. He taught people how to fix their own bikes. He wanted everyone to be self-sufficient. Soo-jin approached Ji-won during the gathering. "I deleted that original video," she said quietly. "The one where we were laughing at you. Why? It has so many views. Because it shows us being terrible people. I do not want that representing who we are, or who we are trying to be." She smiled. "I made a new video instead. About what we learned from you and your father. About respect and skill. It is doing pretty well. You did not have to delete it." "Yes, I did. Some mistakes should not be preserved forever." Soo-jin looked around at the gathering. "Your father built more than bikes, you know. He built community. Look at all these people from different backgrounds, different generations, all here together. That is his real legacy." As the afternoon turned to evening, people started to leave. They thanked Ji-won and her mother. They promised to stay in touch. They rode away in small groups, heading home with full hearts. Finally, only the coastal crew remained, helping clean up the parking lot. "So college starts next week?" Youngmi asked Ji-won. "Yes. Mechanical engineering at State University. We're going to miss you at the shop. I will be back every weekend. And Taeyang will teach you everything you need to know." Minho carried the last of the trash bags to the dumpster. When he came back, he looked serious. "I need to tell you something. My father wants to meet you." "Your father? Why? He saw what happened. How you changed me. How you changed all of us. He wants to apologize for raising me to think money was everything. And he wants to discuss a business opportunity." "What kind of business?" "He wants to invest in your shop. Help you expand. Maybe open a second location. He says you have something rare. Real skill combined with integrity. He wants to support that." Ji-won was surprised. "I will have to talk to my mother about that. No pressure. He just wanted me to ask." Minho smiled. "Funny how things work out. 3 months ago I was laughing at your bike. Now my father wants to invest in your business." After everyone left, Ji-won and her mother sat in the quiet shop. They were exhausted but happy. "Today was perfect," her mother said. "Your father would have loved every minute of it." "I think he was here, Mom, watching, proud of what we have built." "I know he was." Her mother hugged her. "You have honored his memory in the best way possible. By continuing his work, by teaching others, by being exactly the person he raised you to be." That night, Ji-won could not sleep. She went down to the garage and stood next to her motorcycle, the same rough, rusty, duct-taped bike that had started everything. She thought about the journey of the last 3 months. From being mocked and laughed at to being respected and admired, from a struggling shop to a thriving business, from feeling alone to having a community of friends, all because her father had taught her one simple truth: never judge by appearances. A week later, Ji-won moved into her college dorm. Her roommate looked at the photos she hung on the wall. One of her father on his championship bike, one of her own bike, one of the memorial ride with 42 motorcycles. "Is that your family?" the roommate asked. Ji-won smiled. "Some of them. My father, my mother, my friends. All of us connected by motorcycles. That is cool." "What is your major?" "Mechanical engineering. I want to design high-performance motorcycles." "Oh, wow. That is specific. Why motorcycles?" Ji-won thought about her answer. She could give the simple explanation or the real one. She chose the real one. "My father taught me that motorcycles are more than just machines. They are freedom. They are skill made visible. They are the perfect combination of art and engineering. And most importantly, they are teachers. Teachers how? They teach you that what matters is not what something looks like on the outside. It is what is built on the inside. The care, the skill, the love that goes into making something excellent. Jiwon touched the photo of her father. My bike looks like junk, but it is actually a masterpiece. That is the lesson. Never underestimate. Never judge by appearances. Always look deeper. Her roommate nodded slowly. That is actually pretty deep. My father was a deep person. Classes started the next day. Jiwon found herself in a mechanical engineering class with 30 other students. The professor asked everyone to introduce themselves and explain why they chose engineering. When it was Jiwon's turn, she stood up. My name is Jiwon Park. I chose engineering because my father was a master mechanic and builder. He taught me that the best engineering is invisible. That true innovation comes from making ordinary things extraordinary. That skill matters more than money. The professor, an older man with gray hair, looked at her with interest. Park, are you related to Park Sung-jin? Jiwon was surprised. Yes, he was my father. Did you know him? I met him once many years ago at a racing event in Korea. He beat my university's racing team with a bike he built himself. It was humbling and inspiring. The professor smiled. Welcome to my class, Ms. Park. I look forward to seeing what you build. Over the following weeks, Jiwon settled into college life. She studied hard. She joined the racing team. She made new friends. But every weekend she returned home to work at the shop. The business continued to grow. Tae-yang was an excellent manager. Young-mi had become a skilled mechanic. They were training 2 new assistants. Minho's father had invested money to expand the garage and buy better equipment. But more importantly, the shop had become what her father always dreamed it would be, a place where people learned, where ordinary bikes became special, where respect was earned through skill, not bought with money. One Saturday, a young teenager came into the shop. He was maybe 14, pushing a beat-up old motorcycle that barely ran. The bike was rusty, dented, and held together with wire and duct tape. Can you fix this? The boy asked nervously. I know it looks bad. Everyone says I should just throw it away, but it was my grandfather's. He taught me to ride on it before he died. Jiwon walked over and looked at the bike. She saw past the rust and damage. She saw a classic model that could be saved. She saw a boy who loved his grandfather. She saw herself 3 months ago. I can do better than fix it, she said. I can teach you to fix it yourself. If you are willing to work and learn. The boy's face lit up. Really? You would teach me? That is what we do here. We teach people that every bike has potential, that the best victories come when everyone underestimates you, that what you build with your hands means more than what you buy with money. She led the boy into the garage. What is your name? David. Okay, David, let me tell you about my bike. It looks terrible, right? But looks can be deceiving. Let me show you what is possible when you combine skill, patience, and love. As Jiwon began teaching the boy, she felt her father's presence strongly. This was what he had done for her. This was what she would now do for others. The cycle continued. Her mother watched from the office, tears in her eyes. Her husband was gone, but his spirit lived on. In their daughter. In this shop. In every person who learned that true value has nothing to do with appearance. That evening, after David left with his grandfather's bike and a plan for restoration, Jiwon sat in the garage alone. She pulled out the photo Tae-yang had given her. Her father on his championship bike, young and proud and happy. We are doing it, Dad, she said softly. Everything you dreamed of. The shop is strong. I am learning engineering. I am teaching others. And I am riding your bike every single day. She looked at her own motorcycle, still looking rough and tired and worthless to anyone who did not know its secret. They laughed at my bike, she continued. Just like they laughed at yours. But now they ask me to build theirs. Now they come to learn from me. Now they understand what you taught me. The garage was quiet except for the sound of the ocean in the distance. The same sound her father had listened to for 20 years while building dreams in this space. Jiwon stood and walked to her bike. She ran her hand along the rusty tank, feeling the rough surface and the smooth parts where her father's hands had touched it thousands of times. Thank you, Dad, she whispered, for teaching me to see what others miss, for showing me that strength comes from being underestimated, for building me a bike that changed my life. She climbed on and started the engine. It coughed and sputtered, sounding terrible as always. She smiled. Some things were perfect exactly as they were. Jiwon rode into the evening toward the coastal highway where it all began. The bike that looked like nothing but held everything. The machine that taught the world not to judge by appearances. The gift from a father to his daughter that proved skill, love, and dedication will always triumph over money and pride. Behind her, the shop sign swung gently in the ocean breeze. Park and Daughter Performance, where legends are built, and legends were being built. Every single day, one bike, one lesson, one person at a time, just like her father had always planned.